welcome to Power On, your go-to destination about everything surrounding the world of video games. I'm your host and video game extraordinaire, Mike Menino. I invite two guests from different video game eras, one from the past and one from the present, to discuss the ins and outs of the best games and gaming systems ever created. Let's press start on our show by welcoming retro video game expert from the town of Hop Hog, New York, Patrick L. Peck. Thank you so much for coming today.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Now, being a retro video game expert, what would you say was the defining thing that got you into retro games?
Experiencing renting games from Blockbuster.
The classic challenge of going to the local rental store for video games.
I used to love renting games like Gex and Croc and stuff like that.
Platformers, very excellent games.
Yes.
Now, those were PlayStation games, but
Right.
what was your first console? Was it the PlayStation 1?
It was, actually.
Love the PlayStation 1.
Yeah.
An original game changer, I would say, especially when we got to that next level of systems, as opposed to the Nintendo 64. How do you feel about that?
Well, I think the N64 was better.
You
That's
do?
my favorite game system.
You know what? I would agree there are the differences between the two. And between those two, would I be safe in saying that your favorite games fit somewhere in there?
My favorite game of all time is Crash Bandicoot 2, Cortex Strikes Back. And I really love that game. It's my favorite game. It's one of the first games I ever owned. Then my second favorite game is Spyro 2, Ripto's Rage.
The Spyro and Crash series have been kind of universal as kind of PlayStation mascots, especially during the PS1
That's why they should
era.
be on the PS1 Classic that's coming out.
It's kind of a shame that they're really not. You know, the Spyro remaster and the Crash remaster were great cash grabs for those
think
companies. They were, absolutely. Activision knew what they were doing. Do you have a little bit of...
And I have a third favorite is Banjo-Kazooie.
I do love Banjo-Kazooie. Banjo-Kazooie is a Nintendo 64 classic, last great collectathon platformer.
It was during when that was really hot for cartoony games to be in at the time, and it was the antithesis of that era.
Yeah, it definitely was one of the better ones. You know, with Rare and everything else in the series being so good, I loved Rare games. They always had this feeling of just being a little bit comical, adult, kind of sly, and always kept up with the sense of humor.
Yeah, it was the whole era of the late '90s was all about cartoony things with all the movies and McDonald's and all that kind of stuff. And Rareware was really
ahead of their time, I would say.
They were really completely part of all that.
Absolutely. But don't turn off that switch just yet. We'll be right back after more Power On after this commercial break.